everybody, I'm Maddie, and today my Ignite presentation will be on Strategy 2, Identifying Strong and Weak Work, Models for Learning. So why do we show examples? We lead by example, and peer fluence oftentimes is way stronger than our influence as teachers will ever be. We can't teach all the time, so strong examples means strong improvement. These examples will strengthen judgment and evaluative thinking and practice distinguishing levels of quality in the classroom, which is exactly what Strategy 2 aims to do. Our goals are very clear visions of expectations, so you want your students to see the level of work that they need to create in order to perform better in the classroom, and to create with the accuracy and quality similar to yours, and what you expect for them, and what kinds of work you expect them to create. I kind of see Strategy 2 like I see a really good cookie. All teachers want their students to bake the best batch of cookies that they can bake, and share them with the class, and improve on the recipe year after year. By showing the students what bad cookies look like, and what good cookies taste like, it helps them see the potential in what they can create, and what batch they can turn out for your classroom. We all know summative and formative are different, but very important. So with this strategy, you can use assessments in a formative way, like for diagnosis or practice, or a summative way for assigning a grade or a mark. And they'll be using their summative learning to evaluate their own peer work in class. There are two types of targets when using this strategy. You want to target two things: your students' grasp of the content knowledge, and their performance skills and learning throughout the product. You want them to know how to reason in your classroom and how to assess their own work. For the first target, you want to select specific response items, and you want your students to do the same thing, to accomplish the evaluation of your students' grasp of the content knowledge. And we do this to encourage your students to decide which work they think is right and which work they think is wrong, without the help from you. And don't forget that wrong answers can be fun. You don't want to just hand out the correct answer and have them move on. You want them to discover which answer is the wrong answer and which one they can use in class, and how to correct the wrong answer to make it better. That encourages a lot of learning by themselves. And don't forget to keep your student work anonymous. The provided samples should not be done by someone in the class. You don't want someone to feel singled or targeted out just because their work is the bad work, whether the other students know it or not. So a great way to choose samples is by selecting one from another teacher or using some work from a past year in class. There are lots of different ways. You can even create your own, because that way you know exactly which answers are right and wrong, and you know your students will definitely grasp the concepts of right and wrong answers. If you do decide to use samples in class, make sure you provide a rubric. It's a really great way to use a visual example, and so your students can select specific traits in class to work it on one focus at a time and solidify their understanding of the content. And as I said, using rubrics is very easy. You can pass them out in class, and they can identify strong, weak, and mid-range examples on their rubrics. They can be simple or complex based on the age range, and it can be fun. It will definitely encourage dialogue and a lot of independent thinking. The simpler the better as well. So don't forget to keep your examples very simple, especially at first, because you want your students to understand exactly what's going on in class so they can see them and start to get to work. If you decide to do this in class, make sure your students are doing it independently at first. You want them all to look silently at the board at your displayed samples and decide for themselves whether they think it's strong, weak, or mid-range, and check off the boxes on their samples accordingly. Once that's done, they are allowed to get into small groups and discuss amongst themselves whether they think that they've put down the correct answer, and discuss and figure it out. You'll be encouraging discussion, sharing, supporting, and contributing, and it's a great way for growth. After that, they should decide on a score as a class, and that will encourage them to raise their hands and participate in class and come up with a general consensus of what they think was displayed in each work. Further along the line, you can also do this activity again, but encourage small groups where they have monitors within the group. So it's a great way to encourage the growth and progression there. After conducting the strategy in your class, students will be able to internalize what they think is right and what they think is wrong, and what the expectations are in class for you. Self-evaluation is so important, and it's a very useful skill for the future. So with Strategy 1, we established learning targets and made them clear to students, and Strategy 2 shows them exactly how to hit the mark. Both of these strategies are very necessary for the visions your students have internalized. They can answer the question where they are going and what they can achieve. So once goal setting is established, students will be able to progress towards Strategies 3 and 4, where they'll give and receive feedback, enhance their self-assessment, and answer the question on the educational adventure, where am I now? So Strategy 2, it's the beginning of an adventure, the recipe for the best batch of cookies your students can create, the building block for your students' expectations and accomplishments, and examples for success, and boy, are they delicious.